We think monsters are meant to be killed, but sometimes a monster is made, not born, appointed, a vessel for guilt, a solution that lets an empire stay pure without ever confessing what it did. Today, Messmer the Impaler in a pattern older than the Golden Order, Leviticus 16. Welcome back to Code and Creed. It's late, the signal is clear, and today, we're walking into the wilderness. If you've played Shadow of the Erdtree, you know Messmer, fire, serpents, and spectacular brutality, a demigod tied to Queen Marika, hidden, sealed away, almost erased from the lands between. But I want to take a look at him through a specific theological lens, carefully. Not Bible equals game, therefore everything matches. But this, does Elden Ring echo a religious structure that already exists? And if so, what does that structure do? So we're opening Leviticus 16, the Day of Atonement. Here's the claims we'll test. Messmer resembles the biblical scapegoat, not because the game is secretly Christian, but because the scapegoat is a human pattern, a community externalizing guilt to preserve a clean center. And here's the second claim, more pointed. Marika behaves like a high priest who wants the benefit of expulsion without the cost of confession. And that difference matters. To talk theology without drifting into deep feelings, we have to be precise. Leviticus 16 describes a yearly rite for Israel's purification. 2 goats are selected. Goat 1 is sacrificed as a sin offering. Blood is used for ritual cleansing, especially of the sanctuary, because the people's impurity is understood to contaminate what is holy. Goat 2 is different. It is kept alive. And the text says, Aaron shall lay both his hands upon the head of the live goat and confess over him all the iniquities of the people, and he shall put them upon the head of the goat and send them away into the wilderness. This matters. The scapegoat ritual includes confession, naming guilt, transferring it symbolically, then removal out of the camp. Leviticus uses the term Azazel, and there is legitimate debate over what Azazel refers to, a demonic figure, a wilderness designation, or a symbolic place of banishment. But you don't need to settle that debate to understand the ritual's function. The function is clear. The camp remains holy by sending impurity away from the center, not by pretending it never happened, but by publicly acknowledging it and then removing it. That is the scapegoat's job. In scripture, the wilderness isn't just a place. It's an anti-center, outside the camp, outside order, a space associated with testing, danger, and what threatens communion. So when the scapegoat is sent into the wilderness, the message is this. This does not belong at the center of our life together, but we will not lie about it either. Now look at Elden Ring's geography. The land of shadow is a removal, veiled, segregated, kept out of the world's story, a place where evidence is stored, violence is concentrated, and history can be quarantined. And in that space, Messmer becomes something like a living scapegoat figure, not merely a villain, but a carrier, a repository of what the Golden Order cannot afford to keep in public view. I'm not saying Elden Ring is doing Leviticus on purpose. I'm saying the story aligns with an ancient pattern. A pure center needs an unclean margin, and someone has to live there. Leviticus assumes something uncomfortable. A community's guilt does not vanish because people refuse to carry it. If the center stays clean, the burden goes somewhere else. In the game, Messmer is depicted as cursed, bound up with serpentine imagery and an inner force that the Erdtree aligned world reads as hostile. And Marika's response is not simple execution. It is containment, a seal, a restriction, a weaponization. That matters, because scapegoating works like this. You choose someone who is already marked, already other, already plausible as the carrier of blame. Messmer's impurity, the serpent motive, the fire, the stigma, makes him usable. And then comes the moral pivot. He doesn't just exist in the margins, he is sent there. He is placed in the land of shadow, given a task tied to cleansing through violence, and left there, cut off from the center that benefits his work. This is where the scapegoat's pattern becomes tragic. The scapegoat is not honored. It is not brought back. It is removed and forgotten. Now we have to be careful with a big claim. When I say Marika is a failed high priest, I'm not saying she literally reenacts Leviticus. I'm describing a structural failure that the biblical ritual warns against. In Leviticus, the ritual includes confession. It is public. It is named. And because it is named, the community can be restored, at least ritually, to communion. Marika does something different. She does not publicly confess. She does not integrate the truth into the center. Instead, she veils the land of shadow. That veil functions like denial. Messmer becomes not a confessed scapegoat, but a suppressed record. A sealed-off consequence. And here's the theological principle, one you don't have to be religious to recognize. Expulsion without truth does not heal a community. It only hides the wound. The scapegoat ritual is dangerous even in Scripture, which is why it is bounded by confession, priestly responsibility, and liturgical order. When you take the send it away part and remove the name it part, you don't get atonement, you get rot. Messmer's ending hits harder when you see the structure. A scapegoat figure eventually realizes something. I was never meant to be saved. I was meant to be used. So when Messmer shatters the seal and gives himself to the abyssal serpent, read it like this: not an evil transformation, but an unveiling. The thing Marika suppressed becomes visible. The margin speaks back. And whether you interpret that as a rebellion, despair, or a curse, the narrative logic holds. What is denied does not stay buried forever. Messmer is a tragedy shaped like an ancient rite. 2 goats, one offered, one sent away, a holy center protected by a wilderness margin. But in Scripture, the scapegoat is paired with confession, truth spoken aloud. Because without truth, removal is only concealment, and concealment does not heal. It festers. You can exile a person. You can veil a land, but you cannot exile the truth. Eventually, the wilderness comes calling. If you enjoyed this theological forward reading of the Shadow Realm, tell me in the comments. Is Messmer the villain of the land of shadow, or the cost of Marika's purity? Subscribe for the next archive. This is Code and Creed. Rest well.